The G-Virus, short for Golgotha Virus, was a bioweapon created by Umbrella to surpass their own T-Virus. Despite both being derived from the Progenitor Virus, they each had very different effects. While the Tyrant-Virus would cause death, necropsy and zombification when coming into contact with a host, the G-Virus will instead cause extreme genetic mutations, the ability to repair dead cells, and even enable the host to reproduce by impregnating victims with a G-Embryo. To impregnate a host, the G-creature will insert an embryo down the mouth where the parasite will attempt to bond to the DNA of the host. If successful, this will create another G capable of reproducing offspring the same way, although this requires the victim to be a genetic match, normally a blood relative, so cases of success are rare. The only known case of successful impregnation was Sherry Birkin, but she was saved by her mother Annette and Claire Redfield synthesizing the cure to the G-Virus, codenamed Devil, preventing her from becoming a G-monster herself, but also preserving some benefits of the G-Virus, namely cell regeneration. If unsuccessful, the host's body rejects the parasite, and it will emerge out of the host, killing them in the process, and will grow into a G-adult, which will be unable to reproduce properly, and will just regurgitate smaller versions of itself, and is nowhere near as powerful as a true G. Common features of infectees of the G-Virus are the ability to regenerate dead cells. After receiving heavy damage, the host's body will start to regenerate, growing bigger, stronger and more ferocious the more times it is put down, also growing multiple limbs with razor-sharp claws on each hand, proving itself to be incredibly dangerous, as well as an extra head and eventually a large protrusion of tusk-like teeth, and the G-Virus's trademark, multiple eyes that grow out of the body at random points, usually having a very large one at the shoulder. These sensitive eyes being a G-creature's weak point and the best place to attack. After taking enough damage, however, the host cells will begin to destabilize, and each further mutation will become more and more random, with the creature becoming less and less human looking with each new malformation it takes on. Initially discovered in 1988 within the body of test subject Lisa Trevor at Umbrella's Arclay laboratory located on the outskirts of Raccoon City, the G-Virus was extracted and Umbrella's chief researcher Dr. William Birkin began experimentation and development of the virus, not only for creating military-grade BOWs, but also for the possible eugenics purposes it may serve, as Umbrella's CEO Oswell E. Spencer was interested in pursuing this. He instructed Dr. Birkin to continue research on the project. Shortly after, work began on building a massive underground laboratory underneath Raccoon City to house Dr. Birkin's research on the G-Virus, as well as other projects. In 1991, work was completed on the facility, named The Nest. In 1998, the G-Virus project was reaching its final stages. Experiments were carried out inhumanely against abducted human test subjects, including children from a nearby orphanage. Knowledge of the Nest facility's existence was kept highly secretive and away from prying eyes, thanks to the RPD's police chief Brian Irons, who was secretly on Umbrella's payroll, and any investigation into Umbrella's operations was suppressed. As work on the G-Virus neared completion, Birkin grew more and more distrustful of Umbrella's executives and refused to let them steal his life's work from him. Despite orders for research to cease on the project, Birkin ignored Umbrella's demands to hand it over and instead entered talks with the US military to seek asylum and hand the virus over to them instead. With Birkin uncooperative, Umbrella dispatches a special forces team from the Umbrella Security Service to retrieve a sample of the G-Virus and bring the doctor in alive. The team entered through the sewer and gained access to the facility, confronting Birkin in the lab and ordered him to hand over the virus, but in the confusion, Birkin is shot and mortally wounded. With the sample secure and Birkin presumed dead, their mission complete, the team move out and leave the lab. But with his last dying breath and last ounce of strength, as a last act of revenge against Umbrella, William Birkin injects another vial of the G-Virus into his own body, turning him into a hideous monster. Tracking the team out of the lab and back into the sewers, William Birkin, referred to as G in his mutated form, massacred them and then consumed the other G-virus samples and smashed the remaining samples of the T-virus, contaminating the city's water supply and leading to the Raccoon City outbreak. After G was defeated thanks to Claire Redfield and Leon Kennedy, and before the destruction of Nest, 2 samples of the G-virus were obtained, one by the lone survivor of the USS team codenamed Hunk, standing for Human Units Never Killed, and returned to Umbrella HQ, the other by Ada Wong, a spy working for a mysterious organisation later revealed to be led by former STARS captain Albert Wesker. 7 years later, in 2005, the G-virus was encountered again during a bioterrorist attack on an airport, where Curtis Miller was infected and became a G himself before being defeated by Leon. And in 2013, a next-generation bioweapon named C-Virus, or chrysalid virus, which contained genes from both the G-virus as well as T. Veronica, was released in a series of bioterror attacks. However, the anti-C vaccine was created, ending its viability as an effective weapon. So that was the G-Virus from Resident Evil 2. I really enjoyed the lore from Resident Evil 2 as it's my favourite game in the series, and Resident Evil has some of the most interesting lore and stories to think about and discuss. I think the G-Virus was a really cool addition and built upon Umbrella's viruses, expanding it with another virus even more powerful than the T-Virus, but being different enough to not replace the original virus, but rather add to it like a good sequel should. I think Birkin is one of the coolest monsters in the games as well, as he has one of the highest numbers of mutations with 5 different forms, and it's really cool how it explains who he was before he became infected and how that he was one of the people responsible for Umbrella's viruses and BOWs. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you want to see more like it, then make sure you like it, subscribe to my channel, and leave me a comment down below letting me know what you thought about Resident Evil 2 and the G-Virus, and I'll see you next time.
This way.
It's sheer perfection. My precious G-Virus. No one will ever take you away from me.
There he is.
So you finally come.
Doctor, we're here to collect the G-Virus sample.
Sorry, but I won't just hand over my life's work.
You might hit the sample. That's it, all right. Okay, let's move out.
William. Oh my. Hold on, darling. I'm taking care of that bullet wound first. Stay here.
Alpha team, have you retrieved the sample yet?
Affirmative. We'll be at the rendezvous point in 1 minute.
Roger.
Are you telling me that he injected the G-Virus into his own body? The G-Virus has the ability to revitalize cellular functions.
What was that? Something's wrong. Let's check it out. Over there! Shoot! Eat this, you freak! I'm stopping it! What is this thing? Hurry! What is this thing? Fire! Fire! You son of a...